In my conversation with the former Vice President Mike Pence at the JFK Library in Boston this morning, there was one member of President Trump's cabinet in particular that Pence took issue with. JFK's nephew, the Secretary of Health and Human Services now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Your organization, Advancing American Freedom, publicly opposed the nomination and, it turns out, the confirmation of RFK Jr. as the HHS Secretary. The United States right now is facing its single largest measles outbreak in 25 years. Do you trust his leadership in a moment like this one?
Well, as you know, Kaitlan, I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And the very idea that a Republican president would nominate an abortion rights supporter to lead the Department of Health and Human Services was just unacceptable to me. Policies regarding the sanctity of life, regarding conscience protections, all flow through HHS, and I had those concerns. Evidence recently with the Secretary's FDA chief, who said, despite promises that were made in the confirmation hearings, that they have no plans to even look into the harmful effect of the abortion pill on women across the country. And so that was the core of our concern. But as I said, I've got 4 grandchildren, going on 5, coming this fall.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And measles is a very serious disease, particularly for small children, and we should send no message across America other than to encourage parents at the time that young children are able to be vaccinated to get that measles vaccine. It's a completely preventable disease, and I do have concerns that we have a secretary at HHS who has had a lifetime career of undermining public confidence in vaccines. We should have the opposite. And I hope that we continue to hear voices around the country that speak into this moment for the sake of our kids and our grandkids.
I mentioned the reason that we're here and why you were getting this award, and it's because of how you acted and what you did, or to the president's chagrin, did not do on January 6th. And when you were recounting that day during your speech last night, the line stood out to me where you said the only heroes that you saw that day were wearing uniforms, meaning the officers who were there protecting the Capitol and protecting you and others. What should it say to the American people then that President Trump pardoned the people who were convicted of assaulting police officers that day?
Over the last 4 years, I've had people come up and thank me for what I did that day. But I've said 100 times, the only heroes I saw that day were wearing uniforms. When we were evacuated down to the parking garage underneath the Senate, I literally saw Capitol Hill police coming and going through that area, some of whom had injuries, and but none of whom flinched. I mean, it was clear that our Capitol Hill police, the security at our Capitol, was caught off guard by the massive riot that ensued, but their courage, their bravery should be heralded for generations to come, because they secured the Capitol and allowed us to reconvene the very same day and complete our work under the Constitution. I will tell you, I was deeply disappointed to see President Trump pardon people that engaged in violence against law enforcement officers on that day. The President has every right under the Constitution to grant pardons, but in that moment I thought it sent the wrong message.
It was nearly 10 years ago, almost. Hard to believe that you said on the campaign trail in 2016, character matters to the presidency, and Donald Trump will bring the highest level of integrity to the highest office in the land. You can count on it. Do you still feel that way today?
Well, I want to be very clear. I'm very proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. President Trump and I had a good professional and personal relationship for 4.5 years. I surprise people sometimes when I tell them that we never had a crossword between us until those fateful days at the end. We're very different men. We have different ways of expressing ourselves, and in some ways different priorities, but we had a great working relationship, and I think we delivered for the American people. For me, ultimately, character in public life is about doing what you said you're going to do. And we did that in our 4 years. And I will tell you that in the early days of this new Trump administration, I think the president in many ways has been doing that again. He's delivered on securing the border. He's restored morale in our military, where now recruitment in our military, having been flagging over the last several years, is now exceeding goals in every branch of our service. We took the fight to the Houthis on their soil on our terms and fought back after the Biden administration had largely abandoned the region. And I think all those steps give evidence of the fact that President Trump is keeping his word to the American people, just as we did. Where I'm going to continue to seek to be a voice as a happy warrior and the conservative that I've always been is where I see this Trump administration departing from the successful policies of our administration, whether it be making the tax cuts permanent, when some in and around the administration are talking about actually raising the top marginal rate, a move that would be an enormous tax increase on small business owners across this country. Where I see the wavering support for Ukraine, it contradicts the strong leadership on the world stage that President Trump and our administration provided in our first 4 years. And where I see a marginalizing of the right to life, both in personnel and in policy decisions, and that's different from our administration.
What do you attribute those changes to?
We stood strong for the right to life.
What do you attribute those changes to? I mean, if those were the policies when you were there, and this is what's happening now, is it because you're not there? Is it staffing, or is it the president himself that's changed?
Well, I can't account for it. I know that it's true to say that personnel is policy. We had a diversity of views around the president. His leadership style was to put a lot of people around that resolute desk in the Oval Office, hear a lot of ideas, and I hope even from the outside that I and others can maybe give the president another thought, remind him of the policies that succeeded in our administration, that created security and prosperity and strengthened the values of the American people, preserved our liberties and our courts. And whatever the future holds for me, I'm going to try and be a consistent voice for those conservative values that I think are not only the right policy for the Republican Party, but I think they're the best way forward for a boundless future for the American people.
Vice President Pence, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kaitlan.
Coming up, we'll dig into Vice President Pence's comments with two former staffers from the first Trump administration and also a former Democratic congressman. My political sources are here next.